The zipper of Reagan's suitcase hissed open like a serpent uncoiling in the dim hotel room, the sound slicing through the humid Seville night. She froze mid-unpack, her heart slamming against her ribs, convinced the ancient building's ghosts had finally come for her. Then from the depths of the battered leather case, a pale hand clawed its way out, followed by a gasp that shattered the silence. "Please, don't scream. They're coming for me." Reagan staggered back, her flip-flops slapping against the terracotta tiles of the Hotel Las Casas de la Juderia, a labyrinth of whitewashed walls and wrought iron balconies tucked into the Jewish quarter of Seville. At 28, she'd chased sun-drenched stories across 3 continents for her travel blog, Wanderlust Whispers, but nothing in her feeds of tapas bars and flamenco dances had prepared her for this. The girl who tumbled out was a crumpled heap of fear, mid-20s maybe, with tangled black hair matted to her sweat-slicked forehead, her simple sundress torn at the hem like she'd run through briars. Her brown eyes, wide and wild, locked onto Reagan's with the desperation of a drowning soul. "God, what the hell?" Reagan whispered, her voice a threadbare rasp. She dropped her phone, the screen cracking against the floor, but she didn't care. Instinct overrode panic. She knelt, hands hovering like she was approaching a skittish alley cat. "Who are you? How did you—" "Marley," the girl choked out, her American accent thick with terror, pulling herself into a fetal curl against the bedpost. "My name's Marley. I hid in the wrong bag at the airport. Madrid to here. They were right behind me, my ex, his friends. Please, you have to help. Call someone. Anyone." Reagan's mind raced, piecing together fragments. A smuggled stowaway on a flight from Madrid. The chaos of Barajas Airport where she'd grabbed her checked bag off the carousel without a second glance. Seville's airport was a sleepy afterthought compared to that frenzy, but now? This was no blog post fodder. This was a felony waiting to unravel. But those eyes haunted, pleading, tugged at something deeper in Reagan, a echo of her own buried scars from a childhood dodging her father's whiskey-fueled rages back in small-town Ohio. Okay, Reagan breathed, snatching her phone despite the spiderweb crack. No signal. Of course, the thick stone walls blocked everything but the faint strum of a guitar from the street below. "We're in the Juderia. No bars, no cops yet. Stay here." She cracked the door, peering into the narrow alley where lanterns flickered like fireflies. Empty, save for the distant laughter of tourists spilling from a bodega. Satisfied, she bolted it shut and turned back. Marley hadn't moved, her breaths coming in shallow hitches, knees drawn up like a shield. Reagan slid down beside her, the cool floor seeping through her linen pants. "Tell me everything. And I mean everything, because if we're doing this, I'm all in or all out. No half measures." Marley's gaze flickered, assessing, then softened just a fraction. She was pretty in a fragile way, high cheekbones dusted with faint freckles across her nose, lips chapped from whatever hell she'd fled. "It started in Boston. I was with this guy Derek, charming at first, all craft beers and weekend hikes. But then, the control. The bruises hidden under sleeves. Last month he proposed like a ring could erase the chokeholds. I said no. Packed a bag, bought a one-way to Madrid on a whim. Thought Spain would swallow me whole, make me disappear." Her voice cracked, fingers twisting the hem of her dress. "But he followed. Tracked my credit card. Showed up at my hostel with his buddies from some sketchy security firm. I ran to the airport, saw your bag unattended for a second. God, I'm so sorry, and just Dovin. Prayed for a miracle." Reagan swallowed hard, the weight of it settling like Andalusian heat. She'd always been the fixer in her stories, the girl who haggled for the best paella or charmed her way into hidden patios. But this was human wreckage, raw and real. "Miracle's a stretch, but we've got tonight. Shower first. You smell like airport regret." She forced a grin, standing and offering a hand. Marley took it hesitantly, her palm clammy but warm, sending an unexpected spark up Reagan's arm. Touch-starved, she chided herself. It's the adrenaline. The bathroom was a marble nook, steam rising like a veil as Reagan twisted the faucet. Marley stripped down with mechanical efficiency, avoiding Reagan's eyes, revealing faded yellow blooms on her ribs, fingerprints of fury. Reagan bit her lip, fury of her own bubbling. "Bastard," she muttered, handing over a towel and her spare robe, a fluffy thing from some long-forgotten gift shop in Portland. Clean and swathed, Marley emerged looking almost human, though the shadows under her eyes spoke volumes. Reagan ordered room service, gazpacho and jamon iberico, because carbs were universal therapy, via the creaky landline to the front desk. They ate cross-legged on the bed, the TV murmuring CNN in Spanish about some distant election, a buffer against the silence. "You're a blogger?" Marley asked, nodding at the open laptop glowing with half-edited photos of Seville's Alcazar. Its gardens a riot of orange trees and Moorish arches. "Yeah." Reagan hazed. "I chase sunsets and sell 'em online. Pays the rent barely." Reagan shrugged but pride flickered. 3 years in, she built a following of 50K. Enough for gigs like this. A sponsored week in Andalusia, dodging siestas for content. You? Before the everything. Graphic designer. Freelance. Drew logos for indie bands, that kind of thing. Marley's fork paused midair. Missed my last deadline hiding in a dumpster behind a cafe in Granada. The laugh that escaped Reagan was involuntary, sharp and genuine. Marley's lips twitched in response, the first crack in her armor. For a moment the room felt less like a cage, more like a confessional. They talked until the candles guttered out. Marley confessing her love for Frida Kahlo's unapologetic fire, Reagan admitting her secret playlist of 90s riot girl anthems that fueled her solo treks. It was easy, this unraveling like threads loosening after years knotted tight. But dawn crept in with claws. A knock rattled the door. Housekeeping or worse? Reagan's pulse spiked. "Stay put," she hissed, grabbing a vase as a makeshift weapon. Peering through the peephole she exhaled. Just the maid with fresh linens. Still, the paranoia lingered like cigar smoke. By noon they'd ventured out, Marley bundled in Reagan's oversized sunnies and a borrowed scarf, blending into the throng of tourists snaking through the Cathedral of Seville. The air hummed with bells and buskers, the scent of orange blossoms cutting the diesel haze. Reagan's camera clicked discreetly, Marley feeding pigeons in Plaza de España, her profile sharp against the cerulean tiles, fuel for a post she'd never publish. "You're good at this," Marley said later, as they ducked into a gelato shop off Calle Sierpes, the leather-scented streets alive with shoppers. "Making the scary feel survivable." Reagan licked pistachio from her spoon, heat rising unrelated to the sun. "It's the job. But you? You're tougher than you look. Crawling out of a suitcase? That's prime material for my next TED Talk." Marley's eyes met hers over the table, something electric passing between them. Gratitude laced with curiosity. What if I don't want to be material? What if I want to be here? The question hung heavy as the siesta sun. Reagan's throat tightened. She'd always traveled light. No strings, no scenes. But Marley, with her quiet fire and bruised resilience, was rewriting the map. That night, back in the room, thunder rumbled over the Sierra Morena. Rain lashed the balcony, turning the alley into a river of reflections. Marley paced, phone clutched like a talisman. Reagan had bought a burner at a tobacco shop, a lifeline to Marley's sister back east. "She's wiring money," Marley said, voice small. "Enough for a flight home tomorrow." Home. The word soured Reagan's stomach. "And Derek?" "He won't. He's got no passport. But his friends. One followed me to Madrid. If he finds out." A crash downstairs cut her off. Voices, male and urgent, echoing up the stairwell. Reagan's blood iced. "Hide. Closet now." Marley dove in as Reagan cracked the door. 2 men in rumpled suits, American by the drawl, barked at the concierge in broken Spanish. "Girl. Black hair. Mid-20s. Seen her?" The old woman shrugged, impassive as the Giralda Tower. But Reagan's hand trembled on the knob. When the footsteps faded, she locked it triple time, sliding down with her back to the wood. Marley emerged, ghost pale. "They're closing in." "Not on my watch," Reagan vowed, the words fiercer than she felt. In that beat as lightning forked the sky, she pulled Marley close. Not a hug but a tether. Skin to terrycloth, breath sinking in the storm's roar. It wasn't pity. It was possibility, fragile and fierce. By morning the rain had cleared, leaving Seville scrubbed and steaming. They slipped out early, weaving through the Triana market's chaos. Fresh churros sizzling, vendors hawking azulejo tiles. Reagan's blog post that day was a lie. Hidden Gems of Andalusia. where serendipity strikes. But the truth hid in the subtext, in the way Marley's hand brushed hers amid the crowds, accidental but lingering. Over coffee in a plaza shadowed by palms, Marley opened up more. I always knew I was different, like girls in high school, but Derek was safe, predictable, until he wasn't. Her fingers traced the rim of her cup, avoiding Reagan's gaze. You ever feel like you're running from yourself? Not just the world? Reagan nodded, throat tight. Every damn border crossing. Dad's shadow follows me, boots on stairs, excuses to mom. I write to outrun it. She hesitated then. But with you here? Feels like standing still for once. In a good way. Marley's smile was tentative, a bloom in cracked earth. They spent the day like thieves in paradise. Rowing a rented boat on the river, Marley's laughter echoing off the banks as Reagan splashed her. Stealing bites of each other's empanadas in a tucked-away Tosca. Knees knocking under the table. The chemistry built slow like gazpacho chilling. Subtle glances, shared silences pregnant with what-ifs. But evening brought the shadow. At a flamenco bar in Santa Cruz, the duende thick as smoke, Reagan's phone buzzed. An anonymous text on the burner. We know she's with you. Hand her over or we take everything. Her stomach plummeted. How? A slip at the market? The gelato shop CCTV? She showed Marley, who went rigid. It's him. Derek's fixer. Ex-cop pulls strings. We leave. Tonight. My rental car's at the edge of town, drive to Cordoba. Lose them in the mezquita crowds. Marley shook her head, tears welling. You don't owe me this, Reagan. Your life, your blog. Screw the blog. Reagan cupped her face, thumbs brushing away salt tracks. I choose this. Us against the storm. In the car, headlights cutting the olive groves, they fled south. Marley's hand found Reagan's over the gearshift, intertwining like roots seeking soil. The radio crooned Joan Baez, an American ghost in Spanish night. For the first time in years, Reagan didn't feel alone. Cordoba welcomed them with a pre-dawn hush. The city's labyrinthine streets, a maze of moonlit minarets and forgotten fountains. Reagan's Fiat stuttered to a stop outside a budget posada near the Juderia, its courtyard blooming with jasmine that masked the exhaust fumes. Marley slumped against the passenger door, exhaustion etching lines around her mouth, but her grip on Reagan's hand hadn't slackened since the highway. Think we're clear, she murmured as they hauled their scant bags. Reagan's full of camera gear and dog-eared guidebooks, Marley's a pilfered tote from the hotel shop, up the creaking stairs. Reagan scanned the alley from the window, shadows pooling like ink. For now. Get some sleep. I'll watch. But sleep was a luxury neither claimed. They collapsed onto the sagging bed, fully clothed, the room's single bulb casting halos on the whitewashed walls. Marley's head found Reagan's shoulder, her breath warm against the crook of her neck. Thank you, she whispered, fingers tracing idle patterns on Reagan's arm. For seeing me. Not the mess. Reagan's pulse thrummed, a drumbeat under skin. Messes make the best stories. She tilted Marley's chin up, their faces inches apart. The air charged like the moments before a rain. The kiss, when it came, was inevitable, soft, seeking, tasting of fear and gelato and unspoken hungers. Marley's lips parted with a sigh, her hand sliding to Reagan's waist, pulling her closer. It wasn't fire, it was hearth, a slow burn kindling trust from embers. They broke apart breathless, foreheads pressed. I've wanted that since the suitcase, Marley admitted, a shy laugh bubbling. Felt like fate, or some cheesy rom-com. Reagan grinned, heart swelling. Fate's overrated. This is us. But even as joy bloomed, doubt nipped at the edges. What was she doing, entangling her nomadic life with this whirlwind? Her blog thrived on solitude. Attachments were detours, not destinations. Dawn painted the mezquita in rose and gold, its forest of striped arches a hypnotic blur as they wandered its cool nave. Tourists milled like ants, but Reagan and Marley carved a bubble, whispered commentary on the mihrab's mosaics. Marley's artist eye spotting patterns Reagan missed. See the interlocking stars? Like how lives overlap when you least expect, Marley said, linking their pinkies. Over Cordoba in a plaza cafe, Reagan checked her email. A sponsor ping. Extend your Seville stay? Content goldmine. She winced, typing a vague yes. Marley noticed, brow furrowing. Everything okay? Just work. Deadlines chasing me like your ex. Reagan forced levity, but the kiss lingered in her mind, a secret glow amid the creeping dread. That afternoon they hired bikes, pedaling the river path where willows trailed in the water like melancholic fingers. Laughter came easier, Marley mimicking a pompous tour guide, Reagan belting off-key Springsteen. At a shaded bend they picnicked on figs and manchego, feet dangling over the edge. Marley's head in Reagan's lap, she confessed fragments. A Boston childhood in cramped triple-deckers, dreams of Paris ateliers deferred for practical jobs. I drew you, you know, in my sketchbook back in the hostel, before the airport madness. Show me. Reagan's voice was soft, hopeful. Marley fished a crumpled notebook from her bag, pages warped but alive with ink, Seville facades, a self-portrait fierce as Kahlo, and there, Reagan imagined with wind-tousled curls and a gaze that pierced. Premonition, Marley teased, but her eyes were serious. Reagan traced the lines, emotion thickening her throat. Beautiful. Like you. Another kiss, deeper this time, hands roaming with tentative exploration, fingers in hair, palms mapping collarbones. The world narrowed to the rustle of leaves, the river's murmur, the electric hum of new love. But paradise fractured that evening. At a taberna off the Alcazar, savoring salmorejo under lantern glow, Reagan's burner buzzed again. Cordoba. Posada del March. Room 7. Midnight. Or we post her pics online. Everywhere. Attached. A blurry shot of Marley at the market, timestamped yesterday. Marley's face drained of color. How? We were careful. Someone tipped them. Hotel staff? A local. Reagan's fists clenched, napkin shredding under her nails. Betrayal stung fresh, trust so newly forged cracking already. We run again, Marley urged, but her voice wavered. To Granada? Malaga. Reagan shook her head, resolve hardening. No more running. We face it. Together. She flagged the waiter, paid in crumpled euros, and they slipped into the night, the Mesquita's silhouette a stern sentinel. Back in the room, panic clawed. Marley paced, tears streaking. This is my fault. Dragging you into. Stop. Reagan pulled her down, arms a cage of comfort. I chose you. Every mile, every risk. She kissed her temple, then lips, pouring assurance into the touch. They made love in whispers and caresses, gentle, reverent bodies aligning like puzzle pieces long separated. No rush, no conquest. Just presence, skin speaking what words couldn't. Afterward, tangled in sheets scented with sweat and jasmine, Marley murmured, I love you. The words a vow against the void. Reagan's heart stuttered. Love? So soon? But it fit like a key turning home. I love you too, she echoed, meaning it bone deep. Midnight loomed. They dressed in shadows, Reagan pocketing her pocket knife, a blogger's relic from Patagonia treks, and Marley clutching pepper spray from Reagan's bag. The alley was a black vein, stars pricking the canopy. Footsteps echoed, two figures hulking in the gloom. Marley. The voice was Gravel, Derek's fixer, a bull of a man with a Boston wharf rat sneer. Beside him a wiry accomplice, phone flashlight slicing the dark. Reagan stepped forward, Marley behind. She's not going anywhere. Back off. The fixer laughed, low and ugly. Cute. The Dyke Knight. Derek just wants his girl back. Family matter. Family. Marley's voice cracked from over Reagan's shoulder. You mean property? The wiry one lunged, but Reagan sidestepped, knife glinting warning. Touch her and I scream. Cops are 2 blocks. A scuffle erupted, fists flying in the frenzy. Reagan took a glancing blow to the jaw, copper blooming on her tongue, but she swung wild, connecting with the fixer's gut. Marley sprayed, the hiss filling the air with acrid burn. Shouts ricocheted off walls, drawing lights in windows. Sirens wailed distant then near. The men bolted, cursing shadows vanishing into the maze. Reagan and Marley collapsed against a wall, gasping, Marley's hands frantic on Reagan's face. You're bleeding. Oh God. I'm fine. Reagan lied through split lips, pulling her close. The embrace was fierce, survival's afterglow. Police arrived in a flurry. Statements in halting Spanish, Reagan's blog credentials flashing like a shield. Derek's goons were ghosts by then, but the report was filed, a paper trail to extradition if they dared return. Dawn found them on a train to Granada, the Sierra Nevada rising like a promise. Marley bandaged Reagan's knuckles with pilfered gauze, her touch tender. You fought for me. No one's ever. Get used to it, Reagan said, kissing her bandaged fingers. The landscape blurred, olive terraces, white villages clinging to hills. In Granada's Albayacin, they holed up in a cave house rental, its terrace overlooking the Alhambra's red walls. Days blurred into a haze of healing. Shared journals where Marley sketched their escape and Reagan penned raw essays. Lazy afternoons tracing tattoos. Reagan's compass rose on her wrist, Marley's hidden dove on her ankle. Love deepened in the quiet. They cooked paella on a hot plate, arguing over saffron measures. Danced barefoot to buskers' guitars in Sacramento caves, bodies swaying in sync. One night under a meteor shower Marley proposed, not rings but plans. After this, we go home. Boston for me but, together? Or your Ohio roots rebuild something real? Reagan hesitated, the nomad in her balking. Blog's my tether. But you're my anchor. They made promises in the starlight, sealing with kisses that tasted of forever. Yet shadows lingered. A week in, an email from Reagan's editor. Heard rumors, trouble in Spain? Pull back or sponsors bolt. Then worse. Marley's sister called, voice edged. Derek's lawyered up. Says you're kidnapping her. Cops might ping your phone. Betrayal's knife twisted. Not from Marley but the world closing in. We can't hide forever, Marley said, curling into Reagan on the terrace, Alhambra aglow below. Then we don't, Reagan decided. We fight smart. Go public, my platform, your story. Expose him. Marley paled. He'll twist it. Make me the villain. Not if we're the heroes. Reagan's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. Granada's gypsy quarter pulsed with defiance. Its narrow alleys a warren of flower pots and flickering candles, but even here paranoia shadowed Reagan and Marley's steps. They'd upgraded to a Riyadh-style Airbnb, its rooftop a sanctuary of potted geraniums and mosaic tables, but the burner phone stayed silenced, a coiled snake on the nightstand. Reagan's jaw still ached from the brawl, a purple bloom she hid under scarves for selfies, her blog updates now laced with cryptic captions. When detours become destinations. Spain secrets. Marley threw herself into sketching, her notebook filling with visions of their life unbound. A Boston brownstone with a studio for her designs. A guest room for Reagan's gear. Weekends hiking the White Mountains. See? Us, roots and wings, she'd say, charcoal smudging her fingers as she worked by the window, the Sierra's snowcaps framing her like a painting. Reagan watched her, love a warm ache. At 28 she'd kissed women in fleeting port nights. Lisbon hostels, Tokyo bars, but nothing like this depth, this daily unraveling. Mornings she'd brew café con leche, stealing kisses over the steam. Evenings they'd share wine on the rooftop, Marley's head on her lap as Reagan read aloud from her drafts. Essays on resilience, veiled tales of suitcases and storms. But the idol cracked midweek. A knock at noon delivery, the host said, but the envelope bore no stamp. Just Reagan's name in block letters. Inside. A photo printout, them kissing by the river in Cordoba, time-stamped. Back last chance. Madrid train station tomorrow. Alone. No signature, but the threat reeked of Derek's fixer. Marley's hand shook as she read it aloud, voice fracturing. They followed us. How? We paid cash, no cards. Reagan's mind whirred, blogger's instinct kicking in. Someone's tailing. Or. Inside. Doubt flickered, Marley's sister? No, too loyal. Then colder. Her own slip? A geotagged post, innocent enough but traceable. We go to the police, Reagan said, pacing the zealot-tiled floor. File assault charges from Cordoba. Get a restraining order across borders. Marley sank onto the bed, hugging her knees. Derek's connected. His family's old money, judges golf with his dad. It'll be, he said, she said. I'll lose everything, credibility, job prospects. Then we amplify, Reagan countered, grabbing her laptop. My followers 50K strong. We go live. Your story unfiltered. Survivor Spain. Make it impossible to ignore. Marley's eyes widened, terror mingling with spark. You'd risk your brand? For me. For us. Reagan knelt, taking her hands. I've hidden behind filters too long. Time to show the raw. That night they scripted it over tapas, grilled sardines and aioli, the flavors sharp as their resolve. Marley's voice memo. Halting at first, then fierce, detailing the gaslighting, the grips, the flight. Reagan edited video. Clips of Seville sunsets intercut with Marley's words, her own narration bridging. Sometimes travel isn't escape. It's collision. And in the crash you find your fight. They posted at midnight, Granada's bells tolling like applause. By morning shares exploded 10K 20K. Comments flooded brave AF. DM for legal help. A queer activist account reposted tagging NGOs. Even a CNN stringer in Madrid pinged interview? Elation surged but so did backlash. Derek's trolls swarmed lies. Gold digger. Fake for clout. Marley's phone recharged against advice. Lit with voicemails from unknown numbers, his voice a venomous hiss. You think this ends it? I'll bury you both. Reagan unplugged everything, pulling Marley onto the rooftop chaise. Breathe. We're viral for a reason, truth cuts deeper. Marley nodded but tears came. I love you but what if it breaks us? Your career. It evolves. Reagan kissed her eyelids, salt on lips. Like us. Their lovemaking that afternoon was urgent. A reclaiming. Bodies arching in sunlight. Hands memorizing curves. Breaths mingling in affirmations. No desperation, just devotion. The world fading to the rhythm of heartbeats. The next day they ventured to the Alhambra. Tickets snagged via a fan's hookup. Crowds a shield. Amid the Nasrid Palace's filigree, where light danced through arabesques like whispered secrets, Marley paused at the Court of the Lions. This place. It's layered. Pain in the stone, beauty built over it. She traced a carving, fingers lingering. Like us. Reagan slipped an arm around her waist, chin on her shoulder. Yeah. And look, we're still standing. But standing turned to storming when the fixer appeared at the exit, blending with the tour groups, his bulk unmistakable. Ladies, he drawled, blocking the path. Boss wants a word. Marley's gasp was audible. Reagan stepped forward, voice low. Walk away. Or the video of Cordoba goes public, your face the spray. Assault on film. He smirked but eyes darted. Cameras everywhere, guards patrolling. This ain't over. Derek's coming himself. Portugal border next week. He'll drag her back. Try it. Reagan spat, pulling Marley through the throng. They didn't stop until Sacramento, hearts pounding, collapsing in a gypsy cave bar where cantios wailed like banshees. He's bluffing, Marley said, nursing a tinto de verano, but her free hand trembled in Reagan's. Maybe. But we arm up. Reagan messaged her network, a queer lawyer in Barcelona. A PI buddy from LA. Replies pinged. Warrants in motion, safe houses offered. That evening as Granada twinkled below, they danced slow, swaying to a lone guitarist's strum. Marley's body molded to Reagan's cheek to cheek. If we make it, she whispered. Promise me Paris. Sketch the Seine, no shadows. Paris, then Ohio farm stands, Boston locks. All of it. Reagan's vow was fierce, sealed with a kiss under the moon. Betrayal struck at dawn. Reagan's email. From her editor, forwarded chain. Hey Spain drama. Hot but sponsors pulling. Too risky. Cut ties? Buried deeper. A note from the editor's assistant, who'd seen Marley's face before. Knew her from Derek's holiday party. Sweet kid. He said she was unstable. Be careful. Reagan's vision tunneled. Unstable? The assistant complicit? Or just careless gossip? She confronted Marley over breakfast, voice edged. Your ex's crowd, my world overlaps. How deep does this go? Marley's fork clattered. What? I barely knew his friends. The party. Derek's holiday bash. You were there. Reagan's words sharpened, old wounds reopening, trust her Achilles heel. Tears welled. Once. Early days. I left early, uncomfortable. Reagan, please. Doubt poisoned the air. If you knew someone in my orbit, why not say? We're building on sand here. Marley stood, chair scraping. Sand? This is my nightmare spilling into yours. I hid in your suitcase, literally. What more truth do you need? The fight escalated, voices rising in the Riyadh's hush. Accusations flying like shrapnel. Reagan's fear masked as anger. I appended everything. Blogs tanking, cops circling. And I didn't ask. Marley shot back, chest heaving. I crawled out begging, not demanding your soul. Silence crashed. heavy as Alhambra stone. Marley grabbed her sketchbook, storming to the rooftop. Reagan followed, apology dying on lips at the sight. Marley tearing pages, sketches of them fluttering like wounded birds over the parapet. Stop! Reagan lunged, gathering the fragments. River kisses, rooftop dances, futures in ink. I'm sorry. Scared shitless, but don't destroy us. Marley crumpled, sobs racking. I can't lose you to his lies. You won't. Reagan enveloped her, papers scattering in the breeze. We're concrete now. Solid. Reconciliation came in touches, fingers lacing, lips brushing apologies. They burned the threat photo in a candle flame, ashes to the wind. But the rift lingered, a hairline fracture. 2 days later the PI called. Derek en route, flying into Malaga, fixer in tow. Border Patrol alerted. But he's lawyered, claiming coercion, mental health. Marley paced, panic resurfacing. He'll spin it. Make me the aggressor, you the enabler. Then we outspin, Reagan said, live streaming from the rooftop. Views soared 100K. Marley's raw plea. This isn't drama. It's survival. Donations poured, legal funds, therapy vouchers. The backlash peaked. Derek's PR smear. A Medium post painting Marley as volatile, Reagan as fame-hungry. Comments vicious. Lesbian pity party. But allies rallied, believe Marley trending. A senator's daughter amplifying. Crisis crested on the Portugal road. They drove west, toward Lagos beaches, a safe house arranged. But at a toll booth, taillights flared, black SUV unmistakable. The chase ignited. Reagan flooring it through cork oak tunnels, Marley's white-knuckled prayers. They're gaining. Marley yelled, glancing back. Reagan swerved onto a dirt track, dust choking the air. Hold on. The Fiat fishtailed, branches clawing until a ravine forced halt. Footsteps crunched. Derek emerging, face twisted, gun glinting in holster. Marley! Out now! She froze, but Reagan blocked the door. It's over, asshole. Cops inbound. He lunged, wrenching the handle. Marley screamed, pepper spray hissing again. Chaos. Slaps, curses, Reagan tackling him to gravel. The fixer grabbed her hair, yanked, stars exploding, but Marley's kick felled him. Sirens wailed, blue lights piercing the dusk. Cops swarmed, Derek cuffed, snarling epithets. You'll regret this, bitch. Marley spat. Already did, marrying you. In the aftermath, station fluorescents buzzing, statements given. Derek charged. Stalking, assault. His fixer too. Marley wept in Reagan's arms, relief a flood. The Lagos safe house was a weathered villa on a cliff. Waves crashing below like applause for their survival. Sun-bleached shutters rattled in the Atlantic breeze, and inside, the air smelled of salt and eucalyptus. A far cry from Seville's jasmine haze. Reagan and Marley arrived under dusk's purple veil, courtesy of the Queer Network's Underground Railroad. A borrowed Peugeot, back roads, no traces. Exhaustion hit like a riptide. They showered together, hot water sluicing away grit and ghosts, hands gentle on bruises. Reagan's jaw a fading plum, Marley's ribs tender ghosts. No words at first, just the steam's hush and skin's whisper. Then toweling off, Marley traced Reagan's compass tattoo. Points true north. For us. Reagan nodded, throat tight. Always. They tumbled into bed. A nest of linens and limbs, love making a quiet liturgy. Kisses like prayers, bodies a sanctuary. Dawn found them entwined, the world's roar muted to gull cries. News broke over breakfast. CNN clip, Derek's mugshot stern under cheerins. American stalker nabbed in Portugal. Marley's story, their story splashed global. Op-eds on domestic shadows abroad. Podcasts dissecting gaslighting script. Reagan's blog surged. 200K followers, sponsors pivoting to empowerment arcs. But fame's glitter masked the grind, lawyers' calls. Therapy Zooms with a Lisbon counselor versed in expat trauma. Marley bloomed in the reprieve, sketching seascapes from the terrace, her lines bolder, colors vivid. This light, it's forgiving, she'd say, charcoal flying. Reagan filmed it all, not for clicks but memory. Marley's laugh as waves foamed, their barefoot walks on Praia do Camilo, toes in surf. Yet fractures mended slow. One stormy eve, thunder rumbling like distant artillery. Old doubts resurfaced. Reagan scrolled trolls, token lesbian savior, and snapped at dinner, pushing Paella away. What now? We go viral then vanish? My life's a hashtag. Marley set her fork down, eyes steady. Then we redefine. No more hiding for either of us. The talk stretched into night, rain lashing windows. Reagan confessed the nomad's terror. Roots scare me. Dad's farm stagnant, suffocating. Marley leaned in, hand over heart. Roots aren't chains. They're choices. Build with me, Boston studio, your blog from a fixed desk. Or wander tandem. Tears pricked. Tandem. Yeah. They sealed it with a walk in the downpour. Arms linked, water sheeting faces. Laughter bubbled. Slipping on slick paths, declarations shouted over wind. I choose you. Every storm. Back east, reintegration was a mosaic. They flew to Boston, Marley first, Reagan a week later. Blog post teasing homeward horizons. The city embraced. Sisters hug at Logan. A freelance gig for Marley designing queer pride merch. Derek's trial loomed. House arrest pending extradition. But restraining orders stacked like armor. Ohio called next. Reagan's mom a quiet willow in their yellow kitchen. Pie cooling on the sill. Proud of you, girl, she murmured, eyeing Marley's hand in Reagan's. No questions, just acceptance. A balm for old wounds. They settled hybrid. Boston base, Reagan's van retrofitted for road trips. The blog evolved. Wanderlust and We. Co-authored. Marley's illustrations, blooming posts. Their first collab. From Suitcase to Sanctuary. Raw on Escape, Love's Forge. Crisis echoed once more. Derek's plea deal. Reduced charges for cooperation. Marley froze mid-sketch, pencil snapping. He wins again. Reagan pulled her outside to the Charles River Esplanade. Autumn leaves carpeting paths. No. We win living free. She knelt, not in proposal but offering. A silver band etched with intertwined doves. Not marriage. Promise. You in. Marley's yes was a sob. Ring slipping on with river glint. They kissed amid joggers, unashamed. The world a blur of red and gold. Months blurred. Holidays with Marley's family. Awkward but warm. Reagan's TEDx invite, Marley stageside, sketching nerves away. Love deepened in mundanities. Grocery spats over kale, midnight confessions, bodies familiar as home. One spring dawn, Paris bound on U-Rail. Marley sketched the Seine from their left bank balcony. Reagan typing beside. Suitcase girl to this. Marley marveled, handing over the page, them entwined, Eiffel aglow. Reagan framed it later, hung above their Boston desk. Not end but chapter, human, messy, luminous. Back in Seville years on they returned. Hotel Las Casas de la Juderia, same room. No valises stirred but memories did. On the balcony, orange blossoms perfuming night. Reagan pulled Marley close. Best detour ever. Marley smiled, eyes stars. Not detour. Destiny. They danced to distant flamenco, hearts synced, the world vast but theirs. In the end it wasn't perfection. No tidy bows on trauma's knots. But in choosing each other daily fiercely they wove something enduring. Love as rebellion as grace. A whisper against storms, proving the heart's map redraws itself, one brave step at a time.